Hey friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Amanda Boleyn here from She Did It Her Way. So excited to have you. And today I am going to dive into the true cost of perfection and how it is costing you as a business owner and as a coach. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below so that you never miss a YouTube video that goes out. Now, today, one of the things when I work with my clients and my students inside my programs and my one-on-one is this fear of perfection and what is the true cost of perfection and what does it really mean when we become a perfectionist, and how is it actually bottlenecking our ability to grow energetically, physically, and also monetarily when it comes to our business, okay? So much of what we do and don't do within our business is based upon what we think up here. Now, what I can tell, here's how you can tell if perfectionism is rearing its little head inside of you, where this is how you can tell it. Number one, you're simply just not taking action. Whether you're a new beginner business owner, you're just starting out, you are finding yourself being caught up in a thought loop that doesn't actually produce action. It just keeps you stuck to exactly where you are and you're not moving forward. So that's number one. Number two, how you can tell about perfection is that you're constantly redoing things. Things are not good enough. You are maybe potentially updating a sales page because you think that it's not good enough. Maybe you are re-recording a podcast episode. I've been there, maybe even a YouTube video, because we're thinking, oh, this isn't good enough. It's not perfect enough. And needing to constantly redo things is a sure tall tale sign of perfectionism, okay? And then the third one is that you maybe are constantly or occasionally comparing your work to others, whether they are in direct competition with you or it's someone in your industry and you're comparing that. And the reason why I share that, there's nothing wrong about doing market research and understanding what your competition is doing. The challenge that you want to be mindful of is that if you go into comparison mode, because doing that can sometimes cause your thoughts to spiral out and thinking you're not good enough. And thinking thoughts that, well, what's the point, right? And so those are the three things that you can totally tell if perfectionism or the fear of not being perfect is rearing its head. Now, the true cost of having this perfection mindset is really rooted in the fact that, one, it costs of your happiness, right? So if your happiness is constantly and conditionally based on perfection and whether or not you are living, if you're creating, I'm thinking like if you can only be happy if when, right? A lot of times a really easy example of this is that people will say their happiness is conditional on the fact that when I make six figures, when I have a boyfriend, when I have a husband, whatever it is, right? Notice that when is a conditional based piece of it, right? So you are making it so that your happiness is conditioned based on whether or not you meet those set of rules that you have applied for yourself. The second is the cost of perfection is your business. And if you live in this constant state of perfection, you could also be living in perfection paralysis. And you're not going to take action because you are so afraid of making the wrong move and taking the wrong step in your business that it's safer and more comfortable for you to stay exactly where you are and not take action, right? And I always tell my students that imperfect massive action is better than any perfect passive action ever will be. Because the thing is that you don't actually know for sure or for a fact of the outcome of something until you do it. You can spend all day up here in your mind trying to figure out and trying to assume what you think the answer will be to a problem or a question that you have. It's gonna be a long road though. The best and quickest way is just to take the massive action and figure it out for yourself. The third cost of perfection is your future. Now, the current state of your life is based upon the thoughts that you thought yesterday, okay? Your physical world and environment is a lagging indicator of what is going on up here. And if you are finding yourself thinking thoughts that are causing you to be in this perfection paralysis, that is what you are going to manifest in your physical environment. If you haven't read the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, it's that our thoughts create an emotion that produces an action that provides a result. So the thoughts that we think or don't think really inspire an emotion within us that produces that action that gives us a result. So if you are just starting out and you're thinking, man, okay, my business, like it's not gonna look the way that I want it to look in 3 years. So you ask yourself, what's the point? And if you're asking yourself, what's the point of getting ready? You can better believe that that emotion you feel is probably more constrictive, not expansive, and your thinking thoughts of your answers are that, well, yeah, what is the point, right? And so you think those thoughts. And so then the action you do is like, you don't even take the action. So a couple of things that you can do here on how to move forward from perfection and get yourself comfortable with imperfect action is number one, remake your decision on what being perfect and imperfect means to you. If you currently, if the meaning of being perfect is the end all be all and it carries so much weight, then we have to redefine that meaning for you so that you can get comfortable with taking imperfect action. I know for me growing up years ago, having this persona or trying to be perfect was rooted so much in my identity that taking action when I didn't feel like it was going to be perfect paralyzed me. And now for me, I have given so much weight and I have remade the decision on what I make imperfect action mean, that the value of taking imperfect action outweighs the trying to take perfect action. Number two is redirect your focus. If your focus is always on how can I make things perfect, how can I make this even better, then you're gonna constantly go there. But if you can redirect your focus and think about how can I focus on the actual journey and the doing of it versus the end result, you are going to remove so much pressure you put on yourself. Because then if you're focused on the actual taking action and rewarding yourself for taking that action, whether it's perfect, whether it's right, you are then going to build that muscle to redirect your focus on how can I take the next best step, next best action step in my business versus whether that's a success or failure, which is a whole other video that I can go into about having the meaning of, is this gonna be a success or is this gonna be a failure? But going back to number two, redirect your focus. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, your results will show. A great example of this as well is the comparison. So if you go out and you go on Instagram, oh my gosh, you open up that beautiful app on your phone and you find someone who is a competitor of yours and you're like, oh my gosh, do you see what they're doing? I'm so far behind. Notice how your thoughts spiral the F out, okay? That's gonna leave you feeling not super great. And so one, you have to protect your focus and where it goes. And number two, know that one, when it comes to comparison, is that really seeing someone else do something and demonstrate that they have a business that you want, it just demonstrates that it's possible. It also goes into abundance versus lack mindset, but we'll get into that later. The big thing is redirect your focus, because where your focus goes, your energy flows and your results will show. Number three is rewiring your thoughts. So what you think impacts how you feel, the actions you take, the results you get in your life. And this requires you to be very aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, okay? And so for example, if you think, well, I don't know for sure if, I'm starting a business, and this happens a lot with some of the students that I coach in my one-on-one program and my group coaching program, is that if they're so paralyzed by not knowing the exact outcome of the steps that they're gonna take, and they're so afraid that the step that they're gonna take isn't gonna give them the outcome that they want, they don't take action. So you have to be acutely aware of the thoughts that you're thinking so that we can rewire your thoughts and say, you know what, instead, how can I get excited about experimenting with this? Because I don't know for sure what the outcome is gonna be, but I want to find out. And so I'm going to take that action. I'm going to get uncomfortable, right? And taking action is like building a muscle over time, okay? Lastly is making sure that you detach your worth to this need to be perfect, right? You are innately worthy because you are human. You don't need any sort of condition. You don't need to make a certain amount of money. You don't need certain color of hair. You don't need to be a certain amount of weight. Like, you are innately and inherently worthy, and you deserve all the abundance in your life, period, right? So as soon as you detach, I know for me, for the longest time, I would only celebrate when a launch was a success. I would only celebrate when I would make a certain level of revenue and all that. Again, going back to what we talked about before, it was a very conditional based way for me to be happy. I could only be happy or excited when I met X, Y, and Z. As soon as I let go of that detachment and decided to be happy on purpose, decided to be imperfect on purpose, the world opens up and your entire energetic alignment shifts and you start to take action with certainty and not uncertainty, and you start to get excited as well. All right, thank you guys so much for sticking around. You can find out more information below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.